So we're back with a new session and with one of Norway's most intense and interesting entrepreneurs, Johan Brad of Kahoot. And I've known Johan Brad for 7 or 8 years, so I wanted to do a little bit of a kind of backstory on us, because now he is the poster boy of entrepreneurship in Norway, and he does a great job at it. But I've known you from when we were in our 20s, starting up as entrepreneurs. So we met, actually I think it was in London 7, 8 years ago, when I had sold a small company, and I was looking at slightly older, more successful entrepreneurs, trying to get them to show me the leading entrepreneurial hubs internationally. And Johan was actually the most generous of all the entrepreneurs that were kind of a step ahead of me. So he took me in London, showed me the whole community, connected me with co-working spaces, networks, investors, everything, and was just kind of the perfect cliché role model, pay it forward founder. And since that, I've liked you a lot, and we've become friends. And over the last 7 years or something, I've followed the success that Kahoot has become, and followed you both personally and professionally. And you've been CEO and the founder of Kahoot until 2017, and now you're doing other interesting projects. So with that, can't you just start with telling us what Kahoot is and why you created Kahoot?
Yeah, I know you don't create things alone, so I'm one of the founders, and I was CEO until 2016, and then I left the company in 2017. So yeah, correct. For most people who know Kahoot, think of it as a simple quizzing platform. Educational platform. It's actually, from our point of view, we created a company that's going to make learning awesome. That was our objective. Sounds cool and very noble. The more technical side of it for us was designing positive experiences. We saw ourselves as a learning company, and we happen to use technology. And the quiz is what we call actually a user acquisition engine. It was a product designed to acquire users, as many as possible onto the platform, into a pedagogy that we believed in, which can sound a bit cynical as well. But then the idea was that you create this company in the spirit of doing good, and if you have a very good product, it will sell itself, and so on and so on and so on. So in many ways is a user acquisition engine for a much bigger idea, which is design good pedagogy in classrooms. We wanted to create a good learning environment inside of a room, just like this. So basically, what we're doing now, here, this is something we trained to do. We do it again and again because we don't know any other way of communicating knowledge one to many and many to many. And that's how our school system is. And we thought, well, we're not going to break down the brick and mortar, so how can we utilize the space the best possible way? And then that's when we realized we could build a software around the simple idea of a quiz, but actually create interaction.
And that's a personal thing for you, isn't it? Because you have dyslexia, you didn't like this way of interacting in class and in school, and you wanted to create something that got students more connected, that created some energy and some action in the room.
Yeah.
So can you tell a little bit more about kind of why and what you tried to create?
Yeah, I think you know, and I think a lot of people here, if you are a creator or you're a founder, you have this optimization gene. Like, you would like to do things better. You see everywhere it can be done better, and you get very frustrated when it's suboptimal. And I was sitting in the classroom, I find it extremely suboptimal. If you don't like the one-to-many passive conversation and you always want to do something, you become a problem. And of course, that's something that the Kahoot gang saw together. So for us, the passion was, how do you optimize the room? How do you utilize every resource in there? The human, the technology we bring with us, the opportunity of being, the society is taking all this money to get everyone into a space. How do you optimize the learning for that? And so it comes out of frustration of sitting in a passive environment, which is not fun. And also, you're measured an outcome, and if you know I'm going to fail. How the hell are you going to sit in the room? If you know you're going to fail, do you expect me to sit passively and accept it? No. So I was a bit of trouble at school. But we brought that into Kahoot. Another thing is what frustrated us is we bring the way we learn at school into companies. So companies are dysfunctional as learning machines because they're learning, the way you learn to learn at school makes learning and businesses dysfunctional. We do the same thing. This is what we're doing. We're all here as adults doing the same, doing the same way. So there was this motivation to break the learning circle at the beginning.
Yeah. So you were motivated to do that, and I'm sure you had kind of a hope of succeeding at a kind of relatively high level. But did you believe that you could be a brand that was recognized internationally and that 1/3 of all American kids and youth use in school? Did that kind of cross your mind? And how is it to reach a level like that?
Yeah, I'll give you two answers to that. One, yes, we designed, I mean, it sounds extremely arrogant. Yes, we designed the product to be global. And we actually went to the press and said, why can't we? You got Google the others. So yes, and so actually we designed Kahoot. Kahoot means to do something together in a naughty way. And actually, if you Google Kahoot before Kahoot, in America you got men's clubs, strip clubs. It's a lot of dodgy stuff because actually doing stuff together in a naughty way. So we thought if we can actually make the Google turn into a learning product on Kahoot, we are kind of winning. So we called it defend by usage. So the whole marketing strategy, the whole brand strategy, the whole creation of the company was we're going to have to dominate. If not, when you go home and you search for Kahoot to play, you're going to get porn. You're not going to succeed as an educational company. If you search for Kahoot now, you're not going to get men's dodgy things. You actually get Kahoot. So the idea for day one was we have to go global. And by the way, if you're going to change education and make learning awesome, you're going to have to do it at a global scale. You have to do it throughout. So that was the plan. That we're going to succeed, of course, that was not given, but that was the goal. But we were very naive on what actually it meant to succeed.
Yeah, and you can hear it here. You are the typical visionary founder, drawing the big lines, the whole picture, all of that, and going extremely big. And when we started as founders 10, 12 years ago, that was how kind of the whole startup scene talked about everything. And the smallest thing you could do still had some kind of life-changing, world-saving feature to it. And 10 years ago, we talked like that, all of us, whatever we started, and we were the kind of the small ones kicking the leg of all the power structures. And then now, 10 years later, you have access to hundreds of millions of classrooms and kids all around the world. And the narrative has changed. Now you have politics, and you have kind of the financial elite and systems, and you have tech up there. So you are among these kind of tech, this new cast of really powerful tech individuals, and you are one of them. You could, if you wanted to, and if you were a morally screwed person, you could do a lot of
How do you know?
dangerous stuff. I don't know you that well, but what does it feel like to be responsible like that in a semi-unregulated environment where the politicians don't really understand what you do, and you've reached that level of power, actually?
Yeah, I think that's what we meant about being naive, exactly. When you go in, when you realize you created a platform that is in over half of American classrooms, young students, and you're actually moderating and censoring what information they see and don't see. The students are creating content, and it's funny because I've asked journalists to look at us and say, look at what this platform is doing, and other people are similar to us. It's a huge responsibility, and most people completely ignoring the fact that you have, a whole new generation of people are in our platform, and we can analyze them. Someone could go in and, and hijack classrooms through the information that's on Kahoot. It's a huge responsibility to have. I'm no longer in the management, so of course I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I created it, and I would hate it to see if the machine that I created with others could do that. And I think we were very naive. But the thing I never expected is that the people around us don't care. I mean, I go to journalists and ask, why don't you look at us and what we're going on here? And people are not interested.
Yeah.
And that scares me, because that shows that throughout there's a very little understanding of the power we hold.
Yeah. But you say that you were naive, but you were also kind of truly visionary. You wanted this change. You wanted it for the good. You were a true idealist in all of that, and you still are. But as things become bigger and as the narrative changes, it makes it complicated to keep that ideal path and direction. And I know that you have been very hard, and kind of you've fought for your vision in the company. Can you talk about how that is when you're small and you're starting? That's all you need, right? You need the other idealists to join you and come and try to create the vision that you're putting out there. And then you get some investors, and then you start to get real power, and then you get negativity, and then at some stage there is a power play and a financial game and other things that make it very hard for a founder to keep the direction and the focus. Is that good? Is it bad? And how are these stages and dynamics, and how has that affected you?
Well, I think it's quite natural. I think humans learn by doing. So it's when you've done it many times, you know the power plays, and those people who come and invest in your company done this many times. They know how these things unfold. So when you're a naive founder, you don't really know what happens around you. You don't know the play, and that's very difficult, because as a founder, lots of people are very control freak. I'm a control freak. I like to control the outcome of what's going on. And you fight very hard. And I think also that's why we get so principled. We pick a couple of very simple things that, black or white, we're going to win. And maybe we don't win that way because we're not willing to compromise. We're not willing to, understand the bigger play. I think what's important to understand was in Kahoot, which the first fight we had was, you have to look up. When you play Kahoot, everyone has to look at a big screen in front of the classroom. You don't get everything. It's not the easiest way to play. So we made it so that people have to see each other. You have to see each other's face, because it's an emotional game. It's actually about seeing each other and reflecting each other's kind of emotions. So it's designed as a behavioral thing because you know what happens. But if you were thinking of a commercial objective of the company, maybe people should look down. You can serve ads. You can do all these other things. It's easier, whatever. And actually, we don't know for the impact we want in the classroom, for the pedagogical output, for the human aspect of the company, people have to look up at this big screen and see each other. And fighting for that, against teachers, against investors, whoever who wants you to do something, because commercially maybe it's better that way. That's really hard, because you start realizing maybe I should compromise here and there. So I think we got very black and white. We were like, if it's not happening that way, it's not happening at all.
Okay.
And when you do that, and there's lots of values involved, people find you difficult.
Yeah.
They want to put you in a corner and saying, well, you're impossible.
Yeah. So I guess some people think that you are a little bit difficult, right?
I am.
You're a little bit difficult. Yeah. And you fight for your vision and your version of what Kahoot should be and what other things that you're in should be. But take Kahoot. You came to kind of to a level or to a place where you had a lot of impact, and then you could have chosen to compromise a little bit on your vision and still be a part of developing it now. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't want to do that. So you could also say that, okay, I'll tap out here, because this is kind of, it's easier for me not to be a part of this, but then you're not affecting and you're not using the power for good and the pushing power that you have in the company to go in the direction that you represent.
But that's under view that management is the only place we can affect the outcome of a company.
Yeah, no.
I don't know about you guys in the room here, but I'm not a good executive manager. I can just put my hand up saying I'm not a good executive manager. I'm pretty shit at it. Because I don't understand that play, and I'm not good at managing that play. But what I think is interesting, when you create something and we as users, we can affect it from outside. So leaving a company that's been created to call it in the hands of professionals, you can also change the course of a company from outside through the power and the voice you have as a founder or just as a user, whatever it is as well. And I wanted to learn that game as well, because I'm actually pretty interested in the other forces you talked about. Yeah. Those who affect companies who are not management, but are doing it through financial instruments or political campaigns or whatever you're doing. And at the end of the day, that's how most of us can affect our world. There's very few top leaders in management. Yeah.
And what would your advice be to other founders? Because I think that there are a lot of these young, idealistic founders who've gotten to a level where they have this success now, and they don't want to compromise, and they are still idealistic in what they do. But they reach that choice where either I have to go in this direction, I have to become a little bit more short-term, I need to change my measurements for if I'm succeeding or not, or I need to step away or step down. Yeah. Is that an individual thing? Do you have any advice, any thoughts on it?
I definitely don't have the right answer. But I firmly believe that true leadership doesn't come from the top. Like, you lead from behind, you lead through other ways. I think leadership is about choice. So actually, for example, leaving something because you think I'm not best I'm not, in this context, I'm not best fit for doing the business, and I can do it outside. Lots more founders should do that. It's a cliche, but I think actually leaving your company can be smart, getting different perspective. I actually think a lot of good founders are good because they have a very holistic view of the world they're doing. But I think it's so individual. It's really hard to say, but I definitely think leadership should be rethought. It's not from the top. It's from the choice you take. And it sounds like such a cliche, but at the end of the day, you know that when one guy is standing up, jumping up and down, the next one coming, it's those who come afterwards. And we always said, like, those who choose to work for the founder is the true leaders. Those who take the choice, leave a big job, come and do stuff. So I think maybe you don't have to be a top leader. Maybe you could go in and take a different role, learn that management, and then goes back. That's why I think ownership is the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Learning how to be a good owner,
Yeah.
using the instruments of ownership, which we don't do much. In Norway, we don't talk about it because it's dirty. It's like being a salesman. Being an investor is as dirty as being a salesman. We don't talk about the responsibility of actually using ownership as a tool, and I find it fascinating. And I honestly, that's where I was completely clueless.
Yeah. The reason why I'm digging into it is because I think it is quite fascinating that kind of how the tech scene has changed over the last 10 years and how we stood 10 years kind of knocking on the outside, and now you are on the inside, unregulated. But it has been kind of, you can say, kind of discovered, and it is the top of attention everywhere. So you have all of this power, and then in some strange way it is relatively unregulated, and the traditional the power structures, they don't get what's going on. So you get the kind of a Cambridge Analytica, which becomes an example for what could happen, but you have 10,000s of companies that could have done the same and more with the data sets that they have. And yeah, I'm humbled by the power that you have. You could, if you wanted to, spread a message, a unison message across to all youth in the world, if you wanted to, on your platform.
When you saying you mean Kahoot? Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally
Kahoot.
can't do that.
And for every little kind of detail in a classroom,
and we
things are heavy regulated, right?
Yeah.
And now there is a change where the founders are being held responsible for what they're doing, and they are not these disruptive heroes anymore. It's caught up to them.
But that's what, and I think I'll give you guys an example. We started with, it was Bob Marley's birthday. We thought it'd be really good fun to actually celebrate Bob Marley. So we actually changed the tune and the front screen of on every device. We're talking, how many 35 million we had active at that point. They get Bob Marley character and a music tune on their phone on a certain day in February. What we didn't know was also that was Black History Month in America. So in America, they thought we were celebrating Black History Month. Brave, the company takes a stand politically. That wasn't our plan. We just want to celebrate Bob Marley because he's a universal cool guy, right? And that's a wake-up call to the power you have. And actually, we debated as well. It's like, hey, we're promoting Western culture from this company. We're celebrating Christmas on the platform. On Christmas, it comes jingle bells and whatever. And we're promoting Christian values through this platform, which are used in completely, different cultures than where we come from. We were very naive and ignorant to what we're doing, and I think that's the other part of this as well. Is very subtle what you can do and you're not aware of. And this kind of cultural export that we did through the Kahoot platform, we were not thinking it through.
No.
And we were kind of doing that one message to everyone type of stuff. And I don't think we question enough. I don't think we think about that power.
No.
And it's scary.
And the thing is, you actually change people's behavior with the technology, right?
Yeah.
And there are different ways of doing that. There's a huge topic in technology now, which is designed for addiction, and that people are addicted. I know that you've been concerned about that since the beginning. And how has Kahoot been designed away from addictive behavior and towards kind of human interaction?
So I'll give you the very example. Before Kahoot started, and you might not believe me, being loud, screaming, and playing music while you're doing math wasn't accepted behavior. We call it loud learning, and we have stories now of headmasters and principals walking down corridors. Normally, they would open the door and go in and hush and help control the room. Now when they hear Kahoot music, they celebrate the fact that it's loud learning. So that's a behavioral change, actually having this erupt behavior, and that's actually quite a fundamental change that people don't realize that we did.
Yeah, and you've spent a lot of time making the experience not kind of just screen-centric, but also you need to interact with the people you're with to get the human interaction, which is deeper and different.
And that's why in Silicon Valley, in Y Combinator, Kahoot is used as an example for new edtech companies coming in, of a company that changed behaviors, right? And then you could say for good or bad. To be honest, we don't really know how that affects the students who maybe don't respond well to loud, right? But we knew the other side. So we designed behaviors and we changed behaviors, and that's what we're all subject to now with Facebook and the smartphones. And actually what we tried to do, and it kind of failed, was if you want to get funding, you have to high frequency, high impact product, right? Used a lot all the time. The problem is Kahoot doesn't work that way. So it was hard. It was a hard story to tell. It was hard to fund. We said we have to be used not so often, but deep impact. Funnily now, if you see now, that's what's happening with all the big companies now. You know, Instagram wants you to use a little bit less because it's dangerous for them. So we were ahead of the curve. We're very proud of that, but it was impossible to fund it because the funders wanted to see people addicted. That was how you got money. They have to be addicted.
I have an add-on story to that. Jared Cohen, one of the top Google executives, he was on a lobbying trip around in the Nordics, and he came and said that what their biggest risk now was that interaction online was getting so different from interaction in real life. So they were afraid of kind of the social structure and culture that they created, and that would implode on them.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? Is kind of the way you're designing, trying to get the technology a little bit to the background and getting the human interaction to the front and enhancing those experiences. Is that the way to go? And how can you get more human design interaction into tech?
But that's one of Norway's big success cases to come now. It's called Hold. Yeah. It's a company developed by Norwegian students. I'm biased because I helped them and I invested into them. They monetize the time you put your phone away, right? Their whole business plan is you put your phone away and you get rewarded for it. And it's such a big desire for that. People need help to put their phone away.
Yeah, but we talked about it, and we kind of, I'm addicted. I'm addicted to coffee, and I'm addicted to technology. And you said the same.
Yeah.
Nothing else. So it is absolutely a real thing and something you spend hours and hours on. And the risk in personal relationships becomes higher when you have the easy way out all the time.
Yeah.
So,
and we're not going to get into it now, but it's so much research around kids' development when parents don't look at them. And we've had this problem before, and we had it, when we have a depressed mom who don't respond emotionally to the kid's development path goes off track. Yeah. What we have now is that you don't have depressed moms, you have parents who don't look at their kids, and we kind of laugh it away, but it's an epidemic, right? Yeah. That we haven't seen the consequence of. And that's the stuff we care about. So I think, yeah.
But okay, why don't we end it up there before some questions? We have 5 more minutes. Because you've been out now 1 year from Kahoot. You've gotten a kid, you've gotten some kind of perspective, and you're diving into new projects. You're investing, you're starting an interesting platform you can talk about. So what is your new take now that you've created one of the most visible and interesting learning platforms in Norway and the world? So you've stepped back, and now you're stepping back into the startup scene again.
Yeah. Well. When you're as great as I am, no. It's quite hard when you're outside, and I'm known because I chose to be. It was a debate internally as well. I didn't even want to be the CEO, but someone has to be in the front and talk the talk, and you get known, so you get this kind of character around you, right? And you can use it. And the other thing I want to know was to be outside a little bit and feel that feeling of doing something and nobody cares because they don't understand what you're talking about. Because when we started Kahoot, people looked at us and they were like, quiz in the class. What the fuck? Seriously. They weren't interested, right? And it's kind of cool now to say, well, screw you, look what happened. But I wanted to feel that same feeling of going out and being removed from all this kind of, when you are in a position. And a lot of it, is you don't really deserve it, and things gets easier as well. You have impact because of the size. So we stepped away, kind of organized my life. He got, actually got a kid and all those things. And to step back into the world with a new perspective. It's been quite humbling and quite nice. And what we're trying to do, and I think you believe, and I think a lot of people in Norway believe in it, we call it value-based entrepreneurship. Actively creating companies who put value first. And I don't want to be Bellona or any radical organization which is black and white in that way. But we're trying to say, can we be tech entrepreneurs? Can we create companies based around a value set? And that's the way we're going in now. It's going to do deep tech and all the stuff, all the big words. But the thing is, can you steer from Nordic values? And we know the open internet is made in the Nordics, right? CSS and MySQL and everything. So we have a tradition here in Norway and in the Nordics of creating open platforms for the betterment of the world. And I think it got a little bit lost of that power that we have here to create these open formats.
I think that's kind of the time for creating these world-changing toothpicks are over, and we need to kind of go a little bit deeper into value and create things that are actually valuable.
But we did something wrong last time, is that we made it open, but we didn't capitalize on it. Linux is capitalized by not the Nordics, it was capitalized by the Americans. GSM, I mean, the internet, the base of the open internet is all the others made money on it, and we built the foundation for it.
Yeah.
This time around, why don't we take that knowledge and actually say that salesmen and financiers are not bad, they're not sleazy shitbags. It's the vital part that will actually make sure we can capitalize on it and reinvest. Yeah. And I think that's the stage that I'm personally now super interested in.
Yeah. So combine those two and you have a...
Yeah. And I think you're in this little bit the same space. You're trying to combine in this physical space the investors and the founder.
Yeah, we want to make money, we want to be... Absolutely. That's an important part of it as well.
And I believe the beauty of the entrepreneur is the naivety. I mean, you become, there's a reason why it's called a serial entrepreneur. It's like some of the serial killer. You get into path. You get these tools and you do it again and again and again. And some of them are super successful. So then if you do that, let's make sure that those serial entrepreneurs are value-based entrepreneurs. And I know it sounds extremely naive, but that's kind of what's cool about it as well.
Yeah. I'm super glad that you decided to jump back into the entrepreneurial scene. Now we have 2 minutes for questions from the audience. So we got one here.
Now you have a kid. How are you going to balance their life? I find this super interesting about addiction to phones, addiction to screen, and how that's damaging kids' social skills and development. What are you going to do with your kid in this regard?
Yeah, this is actually a fascinating debate and it gets totally wrong over here. We read these things that the tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley don't let their kids play with iPads, and they give all the candy to the rest of the world, and their own kids play with wooden toys, which isn't true. Is what they do is they don't let kids use their technology in the uncontrolled, damaging way that happens for most. They actually manage it in a much better way, and that's the same thing I'm trying to do with my son. Is that the difference between learning to master technology and his human development, and actually trying to learn all that information and then reapply it. It's super difficult.
So when you're in a restaurant and your kid is complaining, do you hand him the phone?
Luckily, he's only 14 months old, so when he gets the phone, he crushes it. But no, when I entered into the digital scene, I literally designed a product which was meant to be a digital pacifier, which basically was an app on the smartphone, because the smartphones first, when it was a couple of years old, it was called a digital pacifier. It's amazing. You just give your BlackBerry to your kid and it shuts up. There was a whole industry around it, and particularly the advertisers were interested in that because it went that way, and it was called a digital pacifier. And that's actually the behavior we now see in general. We put the kid in a digital pacifier. It comes from how we did the screen. My son is not going to do that, but I want him to master technology. My son is going to master technology in a way that's productive for him, but not addictive. I'm sure I'll fail like every other parent, but that's my goal. And that's also the companies I invest in. If you look at the company we invest in, they are technology companies who is about mastering technology. Hold calls it technology tamed. And one of them is a redesigned tape player and music player, but in a way where the kid controls it. And we can master it. And that's one of my... And it normally happens with you started Mesh because you saw the need because as an entrepreneur, right? I'm doing a lot of stuff now because I'm interested in my child's development. I'm scared of him going to school. Really scared of him going to school. Because if he's anything like me, that's not good. So it's, yeah.
We got time for one more question.
So when you've been doing Kahoot for so long, it's kind of like an integral part of your identity. How is it now to do new projects? How is that creating that new identity?
That's a good question. First off, we start. Yeah, how is it to do how is to live a new life after having done Kahoot for so long and be so identified with it? I mean, I'm running around with a Kahoot cap, right? As my wife said when I came here today, be a little bit Kahoot today, put on the cap. But I do it quite often. The funny thing is, my world with Kahoot started many, many years before it was launched. So I worked at this in 2009. So it's almost 10 years ago, actually. We started on the journey for it, and then it is what it is now. It feels like a prison to be associated with one thing. We talk, and you'll speak. It's like being a musician. Everyone wants to hear your old album that was really good, not the new one that's kind of shitty, right? But you're in love with the new one because that's the thing you're doing. It's a bit of a prison to be associated. Oh, it's Kahoot, Johan. And also, by the way, all the other guys who are built Kahoot and all the other people who are now doing Kahoot, it's not fair on them that one person who is no longer involved beyond being an owner and doing some advising actually gets all the attention. But it's just how it is. But I also saw this brain study on actually how men associate themselves with their companies they start the same way they do with kids. So I feel this immense responsibility and a personal attachment to it, even though it's not I can deal with every day. So I actually have a massive battle every day. I feel like Hulk. Honestly, it's actually really difficult because it's not just the outside, it's the internal battle I have as well. Or maybe, like you're saying, I have this great idea, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I don't work at Kahoot anymore. I can't actually do it. And in this new thing, I have no users. So, I mean, over there, we could just do it, right? We could make Bob Marley go global. Now, I can hardly get anyone on Mesh to listen to it. So, it's like taking away a superpower. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I think that's what we had time for. So, thank you, Johan. Thank you.